Hello.
Howdy.
Welcome, everyone. Welcome to Conversation Quest. I'm AJ,
I'm Josh.
and today we're going to discuss fun stuff like cryptocurrencies, VPNs, Tor, all kinds of secretive societal stuff.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely not for the common person.
Yes, not for the faint of heart or the plebeian among you. Before we get started, forgive me if I cough. I'm fighting COVID round 2. Also, got a new mic. Let us know how you think it sounds. Got a new audio interface. So try to keep you guys up to date of any gear upgrades or changes, so you can give us valuable feedback.
Yep, it sounds good on my end, and I think you guys will agree that it sounds really good. So, at least
Did I
him.
just bring? Did I just bring up something on screen?
Oh yeah, sorry. I was making sure your audio was up.
Oh, okay. All right. So yeah, we're gonna get started with. I guess we'll start with crypto.
And
Good.
now is a very interesting time to start discussion on that. Because
Yeah.
I just
Go ahead.
got back into it. At possibly the worst time in crypto history.
Yeah. I brought up CoinMarketCap, and a couple of other sites before we started this. So yeah, right now, Bitcoin is at 38,232. Ethereum is 2,775. Tether is $1.
Yeah, Tether's always going to be a buck, though.
Yeah.
That's the point.
Yeah. BNB is 417. USDC is under $1.
Yep.
Cardano is 120. So these are just some of the top things you'll see on websites like CoinMarketCap or whatever you trade on, Coinbase, Webull.
Yeah, so I do Coinbase.
Where's Doge? Yeah, Doge is 15 cents. So everything's tanking.
So right now, I pulled up Coinbase, and right now there are 5 coins with positive change in all of Coinbase.
Yeah, out of hundreds or thousands that they have.
And they are Suku, Brain Trust API 3, Perpetual Protocol, and Yen?
No idea.
So that's a stable coin for... Hey, look at that. It is. It's a stable coin relative to the yen.
Makes sense. Appropriately named. I like it.
So first, what are cryptocurrencies? Cryptocurrencies are decentralized money tokens. So money, if you think of like a dollar, is a serialized, like each dollar bill has its own serial number, units of work that show that you have put in some sort of value to society. At least that's what money is functionally supposed to be. Cryptocurrencies use computers to do mathematical work to create these proofs and have these currencies floating around. And then you can use that as a fund to transfer value to other people. And that all occurs on what's called a blockchain. A blockchain shows that this wallet, whoever owns a certain wallet, a bank account for lack of a better term, has this fund, and they are doing this transfer with it.
Yeah, it's a globalized ledger, essentially.
Yeah, it's a global ledger, and it works by having multiple computers. Pretty much everybody in the olden days of Bitcoin, everyone who had a Bitcoin wallet had an entire copy of the Bitcoin blockchain. You had the ledger completely, which made it really annoying to start up.
Sure.
There was a time a bunch of years back where I went to do the thing and it took pretty much all night. So that's kind of where it goes. And now there's a bunch of people that are making their own coins. Some of them are designed to be alternatives to Bitcoin, which is just meant to be that no bank owns all the money. No bank has all the money.
Right.
I can, in the same way that I can give AJ here $1 without having to be like, oh yeah, I'm going to report down my taxes. I can just give someone part of a Bitcoin or a whole Bitcoin. Well, other people are like, we can do that too. But blockchain technology is also useful for keeping track of anything. So, like, shipping companies use blockchains to be like, all right, this thing has gone from this harbor to this harbor.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a good way of making sure that your manifest is everywhere. Sometimes they become commentaries, like socially, like the Dogecoin, which everyone that was familiar with it knows that Dogecoin was a meme coin. It was designed to be a joke. And then some people were like, we're going to bring it up to $1, and it never happened. But it's still one of the most popular.
Peaked at like 74 cents or something.
Yep. So there's plenty of other coins. Some of them are used as tokens. But all that really matters is that they're fungible. They are indeterminate from one another. So one Bitcoin is one Bitcoin is one Bitcoin. They don't have a serial number. It's a thing that is its own unit. There are also what are called stable coins, like the USD coin, or as we said earlier, the GN. Those are related to currencies.
Mm-hmm.
So a GN is a yen. Is worth a yen. Always. A USD coin or a Tether USD, they're worth $1. For good.
Mm-hmm.
So like right now, the entire crypto market is, as I mentioned, down. So all of my money is sitting in stablecoins waiting, because I lost $6 off of the money that I had, which isn't a lot. Like I put in 40, they incentivized me 16, so I'm at $50.
Mm-hmm.
And 45 of it is sitting in a stablecoin. So, thoughts? My asthma.
What was that?
I said my asthma was just starting up.
Oh, fun times.
So, anything to add?
I think that pretty much covers an intro, right? So,
yeah.
For those who aren't familiar, Bitcoin came around in like a decade plus ago.
Over a decade ago, yeah.
It's like, I think it was like 12 years or something. And the idea was to kind of get around control, right? To get around some sort of third party saying, yes, you can, or no, you can't do this with your particular fund, right? And to essentially have a hedge on things that fiat currencies would have to deal with. That's why they made it. Satoshi Nakamoto is the inventor of Bitcoin. That's why he decided that there would be a limited supply of it, right? So there only will ever be 21 million coins for Bitcoin. Last I heard, they had mined like 18 million.
Something like that, yeah.
So most of it's already been mined. Unlike other coins, there can be other coins created, or the supply of those other coins can go up through various means depending on the coin. Bitcoin's, that's not how it works, right? There are other major coins like Ether, which is built on the Ethereum network. I was just watching a documentary today. I pulled up the name of it. It's called Cryptopia: Bitcoin, Blockchains, and the Future of the Internet. And that was on Amazon Prime that I watched it on, which is really interesting. They talked a lot about the start, the forks, the various forks. They covered topics like the halvening, which basically
What was this called again?
the movie or the documentary is called Cryptopia: Bitcoin, Blockchains, and the Future of the Internet.
Right, cool.
I watched it on Prime Video. I don't know if it's available other places.
It looks like it might be, yeah. I'm going to link it in chat.
Okay, cool. But yeah, they covered the halvening. It's a really good intro to crypto, as well as, they don't, obviously we don't know who Satoshi is, so he can't be in it. Vitalik Buterin is very briefly in it,
Yeah.
but it's like indirect. Some other big players in the space like Andreas Antonopoulos is in it.
And to dial back a bit, Satoshi Nakamoto is the person who wrote the white paper or the technical theory that would become Bitcoin. And he also registered the domain name. And the domain name was registered in August 2008. The white paper came out. Well, it was shared in October 2008. In 2009, a Bitcoin network came online with Satoshi mining the first block of Bitcoin, block number 0, which was an award of 50 Bitcoins. And this was there was a note embedded in the block that said, "The Times, January 3, 2009, Chancellor on brink of second payout for banks."
Good to know. So yeah, he mentioned the award, right? So for these complex math problems that are solved on the computer running the software, whether it's for Bitcoin or some other coin, the whole purpose of doing it is to get an award. That award for Bitcoin was X amount when it first came online, essentially. And then built into Bitcoin is what's called the halvening. So every 4 years, the award is cut in half. That's happened, as far as I'm aware, every 4 years since then.
Mm-hmm.
And will be until the last coin is mined. Not all cryptocurrencies function that way. A cool thing about Ethereum is that the actual coin is called Ether, but then the network is Ethereum, and that's essentially built as a network. So you can build whatever you want on it. You can build games on it. You can build other payment platforms on it.
Yeah.
You can utilize things like smart contracts. So Josh used the example earlier of giving me $1, right? If he wanted to, we could engage in a contract. So we could bet that, tomorrow Bitcoin's going to be worth 50,000 US dollars. And we could implement a smart contract such that if Bitcoin is worth $50,000 per coin, that money goes to him because that was his bet. But if it's not worth that, then the money will come to me, whatever it's worth, because I was the other end of that bet. And it doesn't involve either one of us being like, well, I didn't say 49,000. I said 49,002 cents or whatever. It's just a automatic award winning. So yeah, I think those are some good foundations for some of the most popular cryptocurrencies, and for the blockchain as a whole. Um,
Um,
I don't think there's anything left out.
I can think of a couple. There have been a few scams regarding them, because
Oh, sure.
with all things there are scams. First and
Yeah.
foremost, the way these networks work changes a little bit between which blockchain you're looking at, which
Mhm.
algorithms you look at. But mostly it is just a mass agreed upon, no trust. It just, so if you can win a race, essentially, you can actually split coins, which has caused some issues in the past.
Yeah, they've done forks and whatnot.
Yeah, so they've had to, essentially break the chains a few times.
Mhm.
In fact, I remember one instance specifically they actually had to roll back, which was weird. Um,
That was with Ethereum you're talking about?
I think that was.
Because that did happen on Ethereum.
It might have been.
Because somebody got access.
But yeah, Bitcoin's was rolled back at one point too.
Yeah, somebody got access to the keys, the cryptographic keys that shouldn't have had access um, for that particular wallet, and were able to pilfer out like $40 million worth of Ethereum.
Yeah, and you can, like I said, you can also essentially duplicate. So you wind up with, because they're non-fungible, they don't have a serial number. You wind up with this coin being duplicated. And you can do that too, which became a problem. But also, you wound up having just old school cons. People might be familiar with the Old West, where here in the U.S. at least, people would be out in certain areas and they'd have their own currencies, and they'd be like, "Well, we can take dollars, or you can take, our money."
Yeah.
And the same thing happens. I've seen certain games have their own crypto. Some of them have just come up as being scams, and that's just kind of the way it works. Like a Captain Coin. Captain Coin, I have 35 million Captain Coin. That's worth about 12 thousandths of a cent. And it's super low value, kind of pointless, super easy, bad reward. It was a scam.
Unless, of course, you're trading it and the trade went your way, then it's definitely not a scam.
Yeah, unless you're scamming someone. Yeah, exactly.
Right.
So, on that, the other thing, before we get into the next group of technologies surrounding this, is called NFTs. And a lot of you people have heard of NFTs lately. And what NFTs are, as I mentioned before, Bitcoins are fungible, which means that they're no different from one another. Bitcoin A and Bitcoin B are identical. So whereas you would think these are like pennies, like a penny is a penny, or a quarter is a quarter, there's no serial number. NFTs are serialized. They're non-fungible tokens. And what that means, and a lot of people get confused as to how they can understand what it is. Because they're like, oh, it's a painting. And but it's digital, so I can just copy it. What makes it unique? It's a certificate of authenticity, is what it is.
Right.
That's all you're getting, is a certificate of authenticity. What people do with that makes the entirety of the difference. So, for example, Jacob Collier, who's a musician, he does pop jazz fusion. He was going to do 4 NFTs that were a picture of his digital audio workstation with all those audio waves. He was going to do 4 of those, and they would entitle the owners who had the NFTs in their wallet access to his shows. You can bring up your Bitcoin wallet, or your Wax wallet, as it would actually be, and show them, hey, I have proof that they are mine, or one of them is mine. You may get into his show. So that's a cool use. That's a valid use for an NFT that people just seem to gloss over. Another one that's coming up a lot is games. Ubisoft kind of did it wrong, but skins in certain games. You can make it so that you own the skin. Or at least virtually have that skin data on your account publicly. So while it's hard to justify that, in like, oh, so say that game goes down, what does that mean? Not much. But if you have a game like, say, Magic the Gathering, and you have the NFT of a card, then say that Magic game goes down. Someone else can program a game that has all the Magic cards and just pulls from your wallet which cards you have to build your decks. Then you have a valuable item again. So, I think it's just really a problem that people are treating them kind of like those little bubblegum machine capsule toys that you see at restaurants. That just people are putting in stickers. It's like, oh, we have 10,000 stickers in our collection. They're worth, $20 a piece. No, they're not. But because people feel like they're exclusive, they want to collect them, they're going to collect them.
Yeah, it's kind of like collecting anything. I mean, I have a collection of comic books over there, and I don't collect comics for their monetary value that I think they're going to have in the future. I just collect comics because I like the artwork, I like the stories. But theoretically, I could start collecting, only first run, first edition, I don't know, Spawn comics or something. And
yeah,
the only real reason to put any restraint on myself to only buying those, other than like bragging rights, would be I'm buying these as a bet in the future that they're going to be worth X, Y, or Z. There's no way for me to know that, right? There's no way for me to know if like Todd McFarlane, the creator of Spawn, is going to die tomorrow, and now everything's going to be worth 5 times as much.
Yeah.
Or anything like that.
And that's another thing. When it comes down to like NFTs, the originator is super important. Because like I can draw a picture on a napkin and autograph it and then write a certificate of authenticity.
Sure.
It doesn't mean that that's worth anything. I'm nobody.
Sure.
But if, say, Pablo Picasso rose from the dead, painted one last thing, and wrote a certificate of authenticity and was photographed with it, yeah, absolutely. So if Banksy decided to like make a public knowledge like wallet on the chain and be like, this is my signature digitally, and then made a couple NFTs, a couple, mind you, because Banksy is the sort of dude that would make like 8 million of them just to devalue them, but it's different. Say some massively popular modern artist made some art as an NFT, that would be more valuable. And if they were limited, then it would be more of a collector's item. And yes, you could just screenshot, copy, paste. Then yeah, you can do that with the Mona Lisa. We have high-res images of that. Doesn't mean you own the Mona Lisa.
Yeah, you have a print, you have a lithograph, or whatever that various version would be on. And there's that's kind of the whole point of the NFT, is the certificate of authenticity. So there's a lot of people who would say, like I was having a discussion with a family member of, well, it's just an image, right? Can I just screenshot the image and now I have the thing? And it's like, no. Number one, no. That's not how it works. But 2, it's not just an image, like we had already discussed, right? It's a certificate of authenticity for whatever you want it to be. So Beeple is probably the most famous NFT artist right now. And he gave Joe Rogan a piece of art on his podcast that has an NFT attached to it, right? So it's a physical item in his studio now.
But he also owns the NFT in the wallet.
Right. And also, you could take a picture of that, sure, and you could, if you wanted to be shady, you could try to sell it as the original or whatever. But the whole point of incorporating the blockchain is somebody along the way can prove that.
Yeah.
Whereas if it's just you and me and we both say we have the Mona Lisa,
Yep.
there's not a whole lot we can do to prove that you do or I don't, unless we bring in a third party to voice that opinion, to say like, I verify this because I have X, Y, and Z credentials. There's not like a central database that maybe this is where we could branch off into nodes and
Yeah.
other things. There's not like a central database that everybody agrees is updated, and if isn't updated, that we could do something about it theoretically.
Yeah. And to that end, alternatively, and it's something that hasn't really been discussed in mass, or even from what I can tell, I've done some research on this, and for some reason I'm not seeing anyone looking at it even on a legal standpoint, which is weird. But using that as a sale of usage. So, like, for example, when you buy an object online, uh, publication rights don't necessarily join it, and ownership doesn't necessarily join it. It's like when you buy a print of the Mona Lisa, you're not necessarily buying the Mona Lisa.
Right.
When you buy a game like on Steam, you're not buying the game. You're
Yeah,
buying
you basically buy access.
you're buying access to it. In fact, technically, even when you buy, and there is legal precedent for this, in the US, when you buy a game, period, you are only buying right to use it, even if it comes on a cartridge.
Mm-hmm.
You have bought the cartridge, but not the data on it. You have bought the disc, but not the data on it.
Yeah.
And there is legally nothing stopping them from confiscating this, wiping the data, or replacing it with a blank if you somehow violate their right. So, for example, if I took a picture and I wanted to sell it to the New York Times, I could sell them the NFT and they could legally argue that I've sold them the actual ownership of this image. So, to that end, you could obviously use it as proof of purchase, not just authenticity, but actual proof of ownership.
Yeah, and you can that could be tracked on the blockchain as well.
Yeah.
That it went from this wallet or this account associated with it, etc., which would be one of the benefits of doing that.
Exactly. Now, as I mentioned, there are a bunch of games cropping up around it that are, like that. They're, your gear, your cards, or whatever.
Oh,
It's all
yeah.
decentralized, which is nice.
Speaking of games, something we should probably talk about is Mike Shinoda's suggestions around games and skins. Did you see that?
No, what?
Mike Shinoda, the rapper of Linkin Park, um, he mentioned in a post, I think it was on Twitter, I think it was like 2 weeks ago or so, something like that, that NFTs would allow you to essentially buy like let's say a skin for Fallout, right? So you buy your Fallout skin, and then you could jump into Fall Guys and use that same skin. And then you could use that same skin to play Red Dead Redemption. And while an interesting concept, right? The flexibility of you owning this one particular thing that you could carry around. The discussion quickly, because it's the internet, devolved into how he's an idiot and he doesn't know anything about coding and whatever. But the issues that were raised would be that thing can't exist in, from, to use my example, from Fallout to Fall Guys
Yeah,
without somebody working on Fall Guys code to make that
a thing in the
asset.
game. Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. And could that happen eventually with maybe a group or a studio or something like that who says like all of our NFTs, like Bethesda could say all of our NFTs working across all of our games, but they have to build that in.
Yeah, that's
Um,
definitely something that could happen.
sure.
Limited, because say for example we did come up with the technology to do that universally.
Mhm.
Um, then it would be just a matter of someone eventually finding a way of sneaking malicious code on.
Of course, of course.
Um, and you'd want it to be all offline games because even if they didn't sneak virus or Trojan kind of malicious code, they could sneak, just a giant penis character
Yeah.
into the game. And that's the last thing you want to do when you're playing Mickey's Crazy Carts with your kids, is have some dude in a giant penis costume come driving up in front of you.
Yeah, there'd be all kinds of issues. But as a whole, the idea was pretty cool. And maybe there could be some sort of version of that in the future.
Yeah, if they can, if
But
it only pulls from their source wallet,
yeah,
repertoire, then it's possible. Um, it just would take a mountain of work, and I think that is something they could do in the future. Would they be incentivized to do it? Probably not. Maybe. Now, I would
yeah,
see in the case of things like we discussed last week and a couple weeks prior, certain games that keep being remade.
yeah,
So, like having your all-star team in Madden
mm,
that you own carry forward, and their legacy outfits carry forward in all those games, or
right,
have your skin in Call of Duty carry forward. Now, obviously,
sure,
you'd only do certain ones like that you pulled out of loot boxes. Maybe even only the legendaries.
yeah, yeah. Or say I'm playing Spider-Man 4 right now on PS or Spider-Man on PS4 right now.
Hmm.
Um, and one of the things in the Spider-Man games has always been unlocking various suits. So
Yeah,
maybe there's a particular Spidey suit that I really like that I never want to lose. Um, maybe there could be an NFT version or NFT associated code that would allow me to henceforth in all Spider-Man games, you know, pull that suit out of my backpack.
yeah,
That would be cool.
that would be cool. That's definitely an option. Now, it is worth discussing the environmental concerns because that's something else that a
Sure.
lot of people have brought up is the environmental concerns of NFTs.
Mhm.
Um, with
Or
all of
crypto in
these
general.
things, yeah, crypto in general, all of these things cost computing power. So these
Mhm.
people are buying up, graphics cards like crazy and ASICs miners, which are just individually designed controlled circuit miners.
Yeah. Yep.
Even what are called FPGAs, not as much anymore, but which are field programmable gate arrays, which
Yeah.
essentially you program in the actual algorithm that it needs to work, and the only thing it can do is work that algorithm,
Yeah, we
usually
may
really
wanna
effectively.
yeah. We may wanna give, like, a brief intro to sort of the difference between FPGA and ASIC.
Yeah. I'm gonna pull up like and explain it like I'm dumb kind of deal.
Yep. And I pulled up a, crypto hash rate chart that I could link to you
Hmm.
if you want.
Okay. So medium.com has a brief example using an analogy. Um, so say you want to mow the lawn. A GPU is a toolbox with this random set of tools: a screwdriver, wrench, hammer. None of the items inside are useful, but luckily there are some scissors, a machete, handheld grass cutter. All can be used for mowing the lawn. It provides you with a lot of options, but they're not the most efficient. FPGA is like a Lego engineering kit. You can build a lawnmower with the kit. It takes more time and more effort to build. However, can finish, mowing the lawn faster than the GPU. Then once that's done, you can turn it into something else. But then you have an ASIC. It's a lawnmower. However, there's no other use for it. So an ASIC is kind of like a locked-in FPGA.
Mhm.
Um, like I said, FPGA is a field programmable gate array. So say there's one algorithm I need to work. I can say, okay, work this algorithm. Then, like what I was doing, if I was doing Bitcoin, for example, and was like, hey, work this Bitcoin. Then I was like, you know what, Bitcoin's gotten too complex, too expensive. I'm gonna switch over to doing Ethereum. Okay, so I just reprogram it. It does Ethereum. Only Ethereum until I reprogram it again.
Yep.
And ASIC, I would have to go get a different ASIC.
Yeah.
To do that. So, and
Yeah, that's how they're
ASICs are
doing
also
some of
most
the.
energy efficient.
What was that?
ASICs are also of those options. They're the most efficient. They do the most work and require the least energy for that work.
Fair enough.
In fact, their conclusion, and I quote, "We decided to mine crypto using FPGAs because they yield better returns due to its higher hash rates and flexibility in algorithms. Eventually, only lower cost ASICs will survive as miners realize that they will never get a return on their investment. GPU, on the other hand, is competing with a device that can run 5 to 20 times its speed, and soon enough will be out of the game." Now, you can hypothetically make an algorithm that'll only work on certain things. Like there are PC CPU exclusive algorithms that you can't really do on your GPU. But people are constantly working on hacks to get around that. So, but due to the nature of this, it all takes a lot of power. Yeah. And a lot of people are concerned about the environmental impact of that. And that's actually pretty justifiable.
Sure, it should definitely be considered. It's not there's a saying in the Bitcoin community that Bitcoin fixes that. And for those who don't know, that's used as a saying to literally argue that Bitcoin can or does already fix basically any issue that the person levying that claim wants it to fix.
Yeah.
And oftentimes there's not a whole lot of reason or evidence to think that it would fix that. But it's worth it to have a conversation about, could there be a blockchain based or a Bitcoin based or a whatever coin based solution? Okay. And if there is, right, what would that involve? And part of that formula is energy usage.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it comes down in a lot of ways to trying to come up with a computationally more difficult, but more, coin, but also a more environmentally friendly miner, which we're seeing. But also, the requirement that really is going to come out is improving natural power, renewables specifically. Because, for example, New York Times, September 6th, it looks, or 5th, I'm sorry, May 5th, there was a follow-up in New York Times, September 6th. This one's from Harvard Business Review. Was May 5th. Bitcoin consumes as much energy as a small country. According to the Cambridge Center for Alternative Finance, Bitcoin currently consumes around 110 terawatt hours per year, 0.55% of global electricity production, or roughly equivalent to the annual energy draw of small countries like Malaysia or Sweden.
And to be clear, that is to mine one coin.
Yeah. So, So here's the thing. If we can get to renewable energy, that becomes kind of negligible. Because if it was renewable energy, like purely solar, purely geothermal, it would bring down the that number would still exist, but that number would have a much lower weight.
Yeah. The costs associated would be a lot lower.
Yeah, and we're seeing countries like China and Russia that are still burning coal for these.
Yeah.
We're still burning coal and natural gas for these.
Sure. You also have to include how that electricity, you have to follow that electricity along the whole chain.
Mm-hmm.
So, maybe the computer sitting at my desk is mining, Dogecoin or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's running at this hash rate. But I say, well, this computer is solar powered.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but what about the electricity to my house? Right? Where's that? If that's coming from straight coal,
yeah,
and that's all it is, I have a bunch of people in my backyard shoveling coal. I don't know that that's much better, right?
exactly.
And how far does this infrastructure go? The miners, a lot of the end users, I should say, not the miners, the end users have no idea. A lot of the miners don't have any idea or don't care.
Yeah, and I think that's really what it is. A lot of people are just concerned about the respect for power consumption and the environmental causes of like global warming coming from stuff like coal burning, certain natural gases burning, stuff like that.
Sure.
However, other reports are coming out saying 79% of power coming from that are from clean energy. Okay, it's going to be one of those hot button things that people are going to debate for quite a while, but will just become an eventuality.
Yeah, and where do those numbers come from? How are they phrasing that?
Yeah.
For that particular chart. Yeah.
And outside of that, like I said, blockchain technologies, coins, cryptocurrencies, they're going to be here. They're unavoidable at this point, just because, like I said, shipping companies use them, banks use them.
Yeah, I think that's
anything
fair.
that they have to keep track of that requires like a chain of custody. They're just going over to essentially blockchains.
Mm-hmm.
I think before long we'll see evidences being cataloged in blockchains. Yeah. Now, it's all well and good that people see bitcoins and NFTs and like it's a thing I can have, but what can I do with it?
Mm-hmm.
And that's a question a lot of people have had for a while. And I'm going to use this to pivot to our next discussion. So, they're coins. They're designed to be used to buy things. A lot of people forget that they treat it like a stock. They buy and sell Bitcoin. They trade it like a stock.
Yeah, for sure.
But the reality is it's a currency. It's a cryptocurrency. That's intended to be used to buy things.
Yeah, that's a big that's part of the big fork in the community as well.
Yeah.
Is it a store of value or is it a currency?
And that's the thing. As I mentioned before, it is a stored value because it is a proof of work. That's what currency is a proof of work. And that's all currency ever was meant to be, is a proof of work. I have done a thing, and I have a certain need. I did not do my thing for, like, say I worked for a farmer, but I needed blacksmith services. I can't be like, hey, I will barter my chicken because he doesn't need chicken right now. But I can be like, I got this token for doing work. Can I trade you this token for doing work that you can trade to the farmer when you're ready to get a chicken?
Right. The original Bitcoin white paper was titled such that, part of the community argues that it was always meant to be a currency used in day-to-day life to buy things,
Hmm.
and the other branch of that community essentially argues that it was not supposed to be, that wasn't the primary thing. That was never the primary thing. The primary thing was to serve as like a hedge against inflation, to be like the digital gold. Whereas nowadays, you and I don't carry around gold bars and purchase things with it.
Yeah.
Um, so it's all interesting. I'm trying to find the white paper.
Yeah. But in using it as, now this is full disclosure, I had a Bitcoin wallet in 2010, 2011, something like that, early days. It was worth $6 a Bitcoin, and I lost it. Now that would have been 74, almost 76,000.
Yeah.
36, 30. I'm sorry, 38, 38. Yeah, $76,000. But like, I wasn't sweating because I was like, man, meh. So the reason why I didn't care is because even though it was $12 of value back then, there was no one accepting it.
Yeah.
Except for the shadiest people on the web.
Yeah, if you wanted to use it on Silk Road or something.
Yeah. So I'd have to use it on things that required Tor. Subtle pivot.
Yeah.
So what Tor is the onion router, the Mark II. Onion routing essentially works in the same peer-to-peer way that Bitcoin does, which is why they kind of work perfectly together. So you can use, essentially, say AJ wanted to go to a website, didn't necessarily trust it. He could set up an onion site that is only accessible through this one group of servers or group of computers. And only people with access through the Tor browser could get to it. But say you want to get to the regular internet. Well, then you have what's called an end node. So you could operate both an end node and a site. And it was all good. It is all good. It works. It was actually designed by the US government for security purposes. In fact, I think it was either the Air Force or the DoD.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Tor network. On the principle, Tor onion routing was developed in the mid-90s by the U.S. Naval Research Lab. And essentially, it's called the onion router because it just layers. So you have to access one thing to access another on occasion. Various attacks and weaknesses have been brought up, but it gives people the idea that it's more secure. And in fact, to the average end user, it is. As I mentioned, that's kind of where the shady stuff happened. That's where you could use your Bitcoin to buy drugs back in the day.
On the Silk Road.
Or anything, really. That's pretty much the only place that was useful for the first, I'd say, probably 4 years. You either trade it publicly or use it privately. So, like, you could use it to hide a lot of stuff. And that's really what it was. However, one of the things that people forget, and this also applies to many VPNs, which is essentially just saying, my computer is directly connected to this other one over the internet. All of my data goes to that before it goes to the internet itself.
Mm-hmm. VPN being virtual private network.
Yeah. And essentially a VPN would be like me running an encrypted channel between my computer and his over the internet, and then I going out from his computer to get all my internet data and bring it back across the network. The problem on both of those is that there is what is called an exit node, either on Tor or in a VPN. So when you hear ads on like YouTube, companies being like, "Oh, we have a strict no logs policy." The thing about exit nodes on a Tor browser is you don't necessarily get that. And you don't know who operates your end node, your exit node. So, to that end, very need to be safe with that, because I have actually set up a Tor endpoint, and yeah, using things like SSL strip, you can find out a lot of really weird stuff.
Oh, I bet.
I found some stuff that made me be like, nope, I'm not having an end node. And that's also, like I said, that's why, NordVPN, for example, swears they don't keep any logs, because in their past they got caught, and it looked really bad on them.
Yeah, specifically because they claim that they didn't.
Yeah. Because and the reason why that's important is, say one person, not me, not AJ, someone else was using a VPN. And all of a sudden there was like, oh, hey, they got caught, they got arrested, we subpoenaed them, we got all the logs. Then, like, if he had downloaded something, like a movie, that's now evidence in a trial.
Mm-hmm.
Even if it's not relative to him, that's enough that they can be like, well, we should go after him. Under normal circumstances, they wouldn't, but since it's currently that's going to trial, they might as well.
They certainly could.
Yeah. So, it's important to know who your VPNs are. Only buy from trusted sources. Don't go to the dark web to buy weird shit. Use your Bitcoin responsibly.
Yeah. Yeah, and you can use it a lot more places now.
Yeah, absolutely.
You can use it at, just regular mom and pop coffee shops.
Yep, and I am so happy for that. That as you said, there's a division in the community, and having read the original Satoshi white papers, that's what Bitcoin was intended for, in my interpretation.
Yeah, I did pull it up, by the way. The title is Bitcoin, a peer-to-peer electronic cash system. And the very first sentence of the abstract is a purely peer-to-peer version of electronic cash that would allow online payments to be sent directly from one party to another party without going through a financial institution.
Exactly. So it's like, say, another example that we used and we kind of joked about with I joked about with one of my friends, is like, it's kind of hard to tip your stripper, with a debit card.
Yeah.
But you can very easily just be like, bing, with your phone, and drop a tip using Bitcoin. And not have to be like, oh, on my taxes, I spent, $300 tipping strippers.
Yeah.
Like, that's a thing that, if it gets to be a significant enough number, people start asking questions like, what happened to your income? Well,
sure.
So, and that's just one of those important things. Like, I'm not saying don't pay your taxes. Obviously, pay your taxes.
Yeah.
But certain transactions, they're, even the IRS is like, it's a transaction between two people. It's minor deal. Doesn't matter. It's petty cash.
Mm.
And as such, people don't want to carry around cash. I haven't had paper money on me in months. Possibly, maybe this past year. Maybe. But I've always been the dude that was, I was the guy with like thumb drives, no CD in my towers for my computer. I was the guy that's like, yeah. I don't want cash, debit card. There's no debit card fees, so debit cards. So why would I want to add the complexity of cash back into my life for other things? When I could just be like, boop, here you go.
Yeah, and one of the pros to more broadly used cryptocurrencies, for example, would be that it could be that fast.
Yeah.
Right? It could be oh, it's Saturday, I can't, talk to my bank about this transfer I need to make because they're not open. And then even when they are open, it's going to take 3 to 5 business days to clear.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't have to have all that attached to it. There's still going to be some companies that do attach certain things, I'm sure. Um, but any each coin has its own. Um,
So network purpose, yeah.
yeah, but I'm thinking of the time allotment for cryptos. I can't
Yeah.
remember the term,
I don't
but
know
each
either.
one has its own. So Litecoin, for example, is faster than say Bitcoin or Dogecoin or XRP or whatever the case may be.
Yeah. And there is, I'm trying to remember which coin it was. Part of the learn and earn coin. I think it's either, yeah, I think it's the Stellar Lumens. The Stellar Lumen is kind of like that, where it's a different type of coin entirely, where it's designed purely to be, or not the AMP. The AMP is designed for app development. Show me the lumens.
Is it one of the ones on Coinbase?
Yeah. Stellar is an
Yeah.
open source blockchain network optimized for payments and digital asset issuance. Launched back in 2014, it's supported by nonprofit Stellar Development Foundation. It aims to connect the world's financial system, enabling businesses and developers to take advantage of the network's fast speeds, low transaction costs, and interoperability. So essentially, imagine if I needed to do like a Western Union, which people still do that. They still do, say AJ was up in Canada and something happened and he didn't have access to his bank
Mhm.
because he has, a local bank. I'd be like, okay, well, I have to do like a Western Union. That'll be ready tomorrow. He's like, that's not helpful right fucking now.
Yeah.
I can be like, all right, this
Listen,
will be here in about 30 seconds.
I gotta pay off the Canadian Mounties behind me. Okay, I need it faster.
Yeah. And that's the thing, like there's always a way, and a lot of these cryptocurrencies are trying to make that so that you don't have to worry about that hold time.
Yeah. Yeah, it is bizarre to think about. I mean, Tabby and I run into this all the time if we want to transfer money, like from one bank to another or something like that.
Yeah, transferring between banks
It's
is just takes forever.
it's a fucking shit show, and we're in 2022 here, and most money, the vast majority of money, is already code anyway. It's
Yeah.
not it's not backed physically. So what's the deal? Like
Yeah, they're not
why are we
moving
waiting?
cash from one bank to another.
There's no horse and buggy. It's got to get the gold out of Fort Knox to take it to Fort Worth or whatever.
Yeah. And that's one of those things, like even PayPal, which is a bank. Like let's talk real. PayPal is a bank.
Mm.
Um PayPal, I actually have PayPal linked to my physical bank.
Yeah.
So if I make a charge with my PayPal card, which I have one of those, it just pulls it from my bank account if I don't have that sitting in PayPal, which is convenient. That happens immediately.
Yeah.
However, if I go to move money from my PayPal to my bank account, that takes 3 days.
Yeah.
That's weird to me. And like the banking system also does stuff where it's like escrows and holds. I bought a graphics card on Amazon and there were like 5 months to pay, equal payments.
Mm.
I had 2 payments left and I decided to pay it off early. So I paid the last 2 payments and it did what every debit card does and it put a hold on it for the value of the 2 payments. And then they took the money out. They didn't clear the hold. So they were essentially locking out 4 payments
Yeah.
which I had the money, but it was like, that's not convenient. And they held it for a week. That's something that these kind of coins can prevent from happening.
Sure. And to be clear, the banks could prevent that from happening.
Exactly. And that's the thing is
We don't need a whole new infrastructure for that. It's a lot of its choice at this point.
it is. And it's just automated settings. Like I reach out to Amazon and they're like, oh yeah, it'll clear, in just a couple days. And I was like, but it should have cleared immediately. And if it happened again, I was going to go to PayPal and be like, listen, I need this to not happen. You can see it right here. Luckily, I didn't see that happen again because I didn't opt to pay it ahead to prevent,
Mm.
And what's crazy is like right now with stable coins, there's interest.
Yeah, if you stake, you can get certain amounts, and then if you don't stake, you can get certain amounts.
Yeah.
The amounts change per coin, they change per platform. Yeah, it's wild.
Like Tether, not Tether, USD coin, which is USDC on Coinbase, has an annual like a percentage yield of 0.15% APY. Not a lot. But it's a stable coin, so it's not going anywhere. Like it goes up and down fractions of a cent.
Yeah.
The Algorand, which is not stable, gives 4% APY. The DAI, which is another stable coin, it's a decentralized stable coin on Ethereum, attempts to maintain a value of around $1. Now it fell beneath Tether's, most invested, but it's got a 2% APY. 2% is better than a lot of checking accounts offer.
I was just going to say that, yeah, checking or savings.
Yeah, like 2% a year. Like one of these cryptos offers 5%. Granted, it's not stable.
Yeah.
But
and then if you stake, I've seen up to 8% if you stake. But then, for those that don't know, staking essentially prevents you from using it.
Yeah.
So if you stake your coins, you can't use them.
Which sucks, and you have it usually has a 30-day hold for the first period, and then you can unstake it at any time after that, or let it ride. And they're going to be allowing soon staking for Ethereum 2. I'm excited for.
Yeah.
A new coin has just arrived 3 hours ago, and it is already down 56%.
Which is a lot for sure, but it's also, if you pay attention to the markets at all, a 30% drop in crypto and like CoinX or whatever, it's pretty common.
Yeah.
It's not like if you saw a 30% drop in Apple stock.
Yeah, it's like I said earlier,
freaking out.
So where's the change? Again, there's 4 coins besides stable coins that have had a positive change.
Yeah.
Today. And that's one of the other downsides is because of the way investment firms handle it now, and it gets traded like stocks as a whole. Like everyone bases their crypto wallets around Bitcoin. So if Bitcoin goes down, everything goes down.
Right.
And Bitcoin's been down for the past, week. It's not doing well. So the entirety of the crypto market is just eating shit. And that sucks. Like, we want to see it, doing well. One of the ones that I just started getting into, Flux, was at $3 a coin, and now it's under $2. Which is like, man, which
But
is a good time to hedge into NFTs because now you're holding a unique item, a fungible item. So if you have the Bitcoin to buy a good NFT, not one of those, bubblegum pack things, like a real good NFT, do that and hang on to it. Because it's going to be worth something as compared to the rest of the market.
yeah, you could do that. You could BTFD in your prior convictions. Yeah.
Yeah, like I said, I support NFTs entirely, but like, I think this is the time for it. Especially, like I said, if you're holding and you're watching the market do its thing, if you're not sitting on a decent amount of like DAI or something to just stay stable and just day trading with part of it, have something of value. Look at
Yeah.
the crypto or look at the NFT markets and find something with a small market cap where there's only like 50 or 100 units of that specific thing. But it's part of a bigger collection. And then, hey, guess what? People are going to fight for that. They're going to want it.
Yeah, I'm all for people doing whatever they want to do. If you want to dive headfirst into NFTs, go for it. Just try to do some research.
Yeah.
Try to figure out if you're still not even sure what it is. Maybe it's not the time to jump into, unless you just have some play money. But
Yeah. That said, I will also add, there are NFTs that are out there right now. Like I said, there are some games where you can unlock characters and are NFTs, and that's kind of cool.
Mhm.
They have Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle Funkos, virtual versions,
Yeah.
and that is such. I don't know. That's an interesting use, but the one that grinds me, the one that irks me in a way that I didn't expect to be bothered, and you might find this funny, the Atari NFTs.
Yeah.
They're animated Atari boxes, if you get the legendary status ones. But they're Atari box art.
Hmm.
They could link it to ownership of a copy of the game. And they don't. They don't.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's
Yeah,
just.
but would that even rate high on Atari's list of weird shit they've done in the last 2 years?
No, but like, that would be a smart thing. And it's Atari NFT.io. They're, like I said, they're little boxes that like subtle animations. Oh, let's look at it. NFT Hive.
Yeah, I
Crystal
pulled up
Castles
earlier.
NFT is selling for $2,800.
It's wild.
But there's
I pulled
no
up.
justification for not being able to play it.
Yeah. Earlier when you were talking about what can they be used for? A cryptocurrency, for example. I pulled up the famous Papa John's pizza
Mm-hmm.
Cryptocurrency payment, and this is from the 2014 article from Slate. And they're talking about the Wall Street Journal's blog story, but basically, a Florida programmer offered 10,000 bitcoins to anybody that would buy him a pizza.
Mm-hmm.
And in 2014, that was worth $5 million at those prices. But back then, it was $60.
Yep.
So now, Bitcoin is, let's see, let me refresh this. So it's 38,000. We'll just say 38,000. So now that person theoretically, colloquially spent $38,000 per coin, and he spent 10,000 coins on 2 pizzas.
Yeah. Like I said, I let 2 of them, just 2 coins, go to waste. And I'm kicking myself for that. So I can't imagine what that would feel like with 10,000.
Yeah. Or the story of the guy who's fighting to get his hard drive out of a landfill.
Yeah.
And the last I heard about it, he had, at the time that number was quoted, he had $500 million in Bitcoin that he didn't have access to anymore. This would be a good way to sort of transition to or cover.
Hell, I might actually have that laptop's hard drive still hanging around somewhere. Probably not, but if I come across my 2 Bitcoin, I'll let you know.
There you go. If the next podcast offers a much greater upgrade in Josh's side of the podcast,
if you see multiple camera views for both of us, I'll let you know. You'll know.
But yeah, this may be a good time to talk about not your key, not your crypto.
Yeah.
And safety around that for anybody who's interested in owning crypto, whether it's through some sort of platform like Coinbase or Webull or Robinhood or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the not your coin, not your crypto, right? The idea there is if you don't have access to the keys for your cryptocurrency of choice, then you don't have access to your cryptocurrency.
And by that,
go ahead.
What that means is, so a lot of people buy their cryptocurrencies on things like Coinbase and Crypto.com, which is fine and dandy. But all that stuff is happening on their servers, right? So even if I were to trade him, like, you'll notice that when you convert funds on, say, Coinbase, there's no Coinbase fee. Because they have all the crypto in their wallet. And they're just going, yep, okay, so that's this value to this value. You don't have any of those coins in your wallet yet. You could send them to your private wallet, which you have on your computer.
Mm-hmm.
But then you kind of have to deal with the putting money back into your Coinbase when you want to trade it off, which has a transaction fee.
Sure. But one of the benefits to Coinbase is them giving you access to those keys, right?
Yes.
So if you wanted to, you could do that. Something like Robinhood, at least last I checked, they don't give you access to those keys. So you can never pull that crypto off Robinhood.
No.
You could also do a hardware wallet. Mm-hmm. So those would be what are considered software wallets. I don't remember the name of the most popular hardware wallet, but it doesn't really matter. While I'm pulling it up, basically the idea is you get like a little USB key or something similar to store these codes, right? These keys, these passwords to your cryptocurrencies. Ledger, that's what I was trying to think of.
Yeah.
And your keys, your passwords would be stored on there. That way, the idea is only you have access to those. It's not internet connected. And you could keep it in essentially cold storage. You could just put it in a shoebox, put it in a safe, put it somewhere, and nobody can get that unless they take that physical device. And even then, they would have to break some sort of cryptography to get access.
Or convince you to surrender your password.
Yeah. Yeah. Whereas if all you do is have software wallets through some sort of broker like Robinhood or like Coinbase or something like that, the benefits is the convenience.
Yeah. And also, like I said, I lost the keys to my Bitcoin wallet. Essentially, what it was there was a piece of software and it created another file that functioned as a key file. Essentially, a certificate. Something happened, that certificate wasn't working with the password that I typed.
Yeah.
So I didn't have access because I moved all of my Bitcoin to a different wallet. And that's why I only had 2, because I had slightly more and I moved it. I think I had like 2.1 or something, and I moved it, just sent it to my other wallet, and it could not get it back. Because my key, even though I had logged in, or I had opened up my wallet, it just wasn't working.
Yeah.
So the security of being able to recover your account, it can be added, or security/insincere, the convenience of being able to recover your account is right there with that.
Yeah, with a broker, you have more convenience of using them to some degree if you're trading, but also of like, should you lose access?
Yeah. Now, there is a really cool wallet that I like. It is the Zellcore Wallet, and I was turned on to this by the Twitch user Crypto Wrench. And Zellcore is the organization that is in charge of Flux. It's one of the coins, and it's going to be used for all sorts of like Web3 kind of stuff, like decentralized DNS, which is going to be really cool, and to make things authoritative. And what it does is it encrypts your credentials and your PIN in separate like blockchain transactions, but they're encrypted, so no one can see them. And then it just checks it against that, so that's your login. So you can log in anywhere, but it's a decentralized 2-factor authentication.
Nice. That's huge.
It is. So like once you set that up, you can just take your your Zellcore wallet on your PC on here, and it's your wallet. It feels like you're logging into a service. You're not. It's just going, okay, let's check this against this other thing.
So it's validating checksums.
Yeah.
Just as any other ledger would do.
Yeah.
That's pretty dope.
So like you log in, and it's all case sensitive.
In fact, when I bought my first crypto, it was in 2019.
Yeah.
I bought something like 1,777 Dogecoin. And back then, it was fractions of a penny.
Yeah.
And I just bought it for S's and G's. Planned to just hold it for S's and G's.
Yep.
And I think it cost me like $5 or something. And then I bought them on Robinhood because that was the first broker that I used personally, like outside of like a 401k or something like that. And then I wanted to switch from Robinhood and stop using them. And I couldn't transfer my crypto.
Yeah.
So I just sold it. And that was the only way I could get out of it. The only way I could close it.
Yeah.
So if I had a way to pull those off, if Robinhood would have allowed me to do that, then I wouldn't have had to close the trade, right? I could have still held those. I could have sold them at the top, sold them at the 70 cents when Elon was on SNL.
Yeah.
So that's another thing to consider if you're going to get into crypto is where your keys, who has them, Do you have access to the public and private? How do you get them? All that.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think that's probably a good place to call it. We're at an
About an
hour
hour and a half.
20.
Yeah.
So next week we will be discussing uh the right to repair. Kind of staying in the same vein of being able to do things for yourself without having institutions stepping in.
Yeah.
And kind of the limits on that. We're also going to discuss good guy company versus bad guy company, because there are some good guy ones out there, specifically like EVGA, who broke their own stuff but then offered to fix it, whereas other companies would be like, no.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Speaking of, Nintendo still hasn't, as far as I know, still hasn't officially recognized the Joy-Con drift.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm even going to get into it in regards to like software, because
Sure.
as we mentioned before, a lot of software mods are really just fixing problems. So
Yeah.
all right. So with that, we will see you, lovely people, next week. Stay tuned
Farewell.
for our stuff on YouTube, on Facebook, Instagram. Follow us and all the
Yes.
stuff.
Yeah.
And
Conversation Quests on YouTube. Conversating Quest on Twitter. Conversation Quests on Facebook. Twitch.tv/Conversation Quests.
yep,
And then
videos
the
will be
email.
uploaded soon.
Yep. The email is conversationquests@gmail.com.
All right. Stay awesome, and we will see you guys around.
Farewell, friends.